Hey boys and girls, welcome back to another video. To my right and to your left is Sean with Blue Tech Mobile Detailing. You can check out his YouTube channel also if you would like. Today's subject matter is the perfect employee, because you and I sat down and we talked about the perfect customer, and we were kind of going back and forth talking about current customers, some of which I passed on to you that used to be mine. And we talked about that transition period, which can be kind of bumpy at times. But what I wanted to do is, because I've had like countless employees in my history, and really I've been at probably just about every level, meaning I started out as a one-man parade. I had my first employee, and then I had multiple mobile detailing crews bouncing all over Orange County, which is a big county here in the Southland. It's called the OC bubble. I had multiple crews. I think at the top there was a total of 5 crews. Myself was one of them. Then I got a shop in Santa Ana, and then I started downsizing. Then I've actually sold my business multiple times. I never sold the actual name, but I sold my accounts. I didn't have to sell them to you. I just kind of did the pass off to you. But in talking to that, one of the things I thought, this would make a good video, because a lot of guys, it's what's called growing pains. When you have a business, and so maybe I should title this something like Auto Detailing Business, the Perfect Employee. Because that's part of the growing pains. Is like, okay, now I've got so much work, I can't handle the work on my own. Maybe I should hire someone to work with me. That's typically the first step someone takes when they either have a shop or a mobile operation. Then you grow some more. That's the goal. And so it's like, okay, now I got to set up a whole separate crew. Do I buy the truck? Do I have the employee be a subcontractor, what's called an independent contractor, or a 1099? You can call it whatever you want. So there's different growing pains. So what you started to talk about was a story where you're at one of my previous customers. Let's just clarify that. So now she is your customer. You don't have to call her out by name, but you're working on her. Did you do both her?
No, just one.
Okay, just her one car. So you were working on her one car, and you take it from here. What suddenly did you realize happened?
I forgot my vacuum hose.
Okay, which presents a pretty significant problem in the world of detailing. Right?
Yeah.
And trust me, you're not alone. I guarantee probably at least half the guys watching this have had this moment happen to them. We're like, oh my gosh, I forgot my vacuum. Because you work out of your car. I, at the beginning, juggle between a family van and hauling kids, as in 5 kids, back and forth, as well as pulling my equipment in and out of the van. So sometimes inadvertently you forget to put something in the van that belongs in the van. Now you show up on the job, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So my experience is this: not all employees are created equal. And I guarantee there's some tests out there that you can kind of test, like an employee's integrity, their trustworthiness, their work ethic, that kind of stuff. So I have certain tests that I do now that have to do with like work ethic. Like for example, just having a new guy unravel or unreel a cord, an extension cord, and now they're at the end of the driveway and they're like literally tangled up in the cord. It's like, okay, this is a problem. Or they're unraveling a hose and now it's all tied up in knots, and now they're spending 20 minutes trying to untie a knot. So I have different things that I do. So tell us first what you did. And this has to go with being resourceful. So you're presented with a problem. You realize you don't have your vacuum hose, which means you're going to be severely limited on how well you can clean the inside of that car.
Well, the first thing I did is, I actually went to the trunk of my car to see what I had available.
To verify.
And actually, the very first thing I did,
went into freak out mode, maybe?
Yes and no. Like, the first thing I did is I grabbed the attachment to my vacuum and try to see.
So you still had the nozzle, but not the hose?
Yes.
Okay.
So I try to grab my attachments.
That must have looked funny.
To see if. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to see if the attachment would actually fit the actual vacuum, but of course it didn't. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I had to try. And then when that didn't work, I was like, okay, well, I do have multiple brushes. I have brushes dedicated for each part of the car. So I brush just for the carpet. So that's the first thing I did. I actually went to the back of the Audi as an SUV and actually brushed it out. That worked really well. But then the problem is that when I got to the front, it was so dirty and there was so much dirt and little rocks. It was almost I would say it's impossible, but it would have been very tedious and took a long time to finish. I know the customer eventually is going to want a car.
Right.
So then I knew that wasn't a solution.
So you're still operating under a time constraint.
Yeah, yeah.
So even if you wanted to literally pick out each particle of dust and dirt and debris individually, you didn't have all day to do it.
No.
So therefore, you couldn't. That's not even an option.
Right. So next step was I made a friend. Friends are often helpful. Right. She was she's a house cleaner. So Did she
speak Española?
She does.
So I probably didn't say that right.
Well, actually, I'm
a total white boy.
Yeah. The funny part was originally she started asking me. First she came out and she's like, "Wow, the car looks really clean." I'm like, "Thank you. I'm not done." I'm like halfway done.
Wow, she never did that with me.
Well, anyways, and then she was like, "How much would it cost to wash my car?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, like I don't think."
She's speaking English or Spanish at this time? English. She probably doesn't know you speak Spanish.
No, clueless.
Why don't you say something right now to the camera so they know you speak Spanish?
Nadie me cree que puedo hablar en español.
Right, whatever you said.
No one believes me that I can speak in Spanish.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, so going back to this, so she was like, "How much to do my car?" And I said, "Well, I can tell you, but I don't think I'm what you're looking for."
Yeah.
I specialize in trying to restore the vehicle to as new as possible. Where I think what you're looking for is a mobile washer.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, your car, it was a 2008 Toyota Matrix.
Yeah. And you probably knew the context, which means she truly is looking for a mobile washer. Yeah. Kind of like a $15 to $20 car wash, which ain't you.
Yes, I already knew.
You could read between the lines.
Yes. So basically,
so now at this point, not to cut you off, but you're trying to stop that, nip it in the bud before it gets and consumes too much of your time, and trying to explain why you're not a good fit.
Right. So skip all that. So she just made it clear, and then basically. She was outside mopping the garage, and right where the tires sit on the actual cars, it was like a stain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On the garage floor.
Yeah. So then she asked me if I could help her. Or she asked me, "Hey, do you know how to remove this?" Yeah. And then I actually grabbed my Simple Green and tried to scrub it off.
Yeah.
And
because I know she has epoxy floors.
Yeah. It didn't do anything. Yeah. So I told her
truly it was a stain.
Yeah. I told her there's nothing you can do. I think the floors look really good. And then,
but you tried.
I tried.
You made the attempt.
And she thought that was very nice.
Yeah.
And she said that was really nice of you. You didn't have to do it. So there's no worries. So FYI, I always try to help people out in any type of situation, whether it's like... Yeah.
Which is a good learning point, because I do the same, because you've got people, for example, you've got general contractors that might be doing a remodel, and you've got the different subcontractors. You've got the landscapers.
Yeah.
You've got the housekeepers.
Right.
You've got the pool guy.
Yeah.
So, and you've got the postman.
Yeah.
You've got the trash man. So you have all these different people that show up that you have the potential to actually become your advocates, your friends.
Right.
Because you never know when you may need something in return.
Yeah.
And I don't look at it as like, oh, I better make a friend because I'm going to want something from them in the future. It's just like, let's make this a win for everyone. We all have to work. We all probably would rather be doing something else, relaxing, whatever. But here we are working, trying to make a living. So maybe we can make each other's loads lighter. Right. So I adopt that philosophy regardless. Whether it's a trash guy, it's like, hey, let me push this out for you so you don't have to scare either of us in the process of you getting too close to the cars I'm working on in order for you to pick up that trash can.
Right.
So I think a lot of guys probably adopt that philosophy, which it sounds like you do.
Right. And the funny thing is, like, all this happened when she was asking me about the car and cleaning the garage. It happened before the incident with the hose. So the hose wasn't until later. So you already laid the groundwork and made a friend before you even realized you needed a friend in that moment. Right. So yeah. So good for you. So thank you. So basically, make the story short because I don't make this really long video. Just when the minute that she went inside the house is when I discovered I didn't have a hose. So I'm like, I didn't want to bug the customer, and also didn't want to knock on the door and make it look obvious. I know, yeah. So then I was like, okay, so I was trying to improvise. So first I grabbed the brush, like I told you, tried to do that. Which is difficult because you've got this like the floor sits down below it, so you'd have to brush the stuff out of the car. Right. So I didn't want to do that. So then just when I thought that I was going to maybe have to come back the next day, the housekeeper comes out.
She came walking out.
Yeah, she was taking out the trash. And I told her, hey, and then also by this point, she already knew I spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
So I asked her, she was asking, hey, the car was really good. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm so glad you came out. I said, would you happen to have a vacuum cleaner I could use?
Yes.
And she says, oh yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Let me go ask the owner of the house. And then within a few minutes, she was out with a vacuum cleaner. It was this big, heavy, old school vacuum cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I should have taken a picture of it. And she couldn't carry it. So I actually went out there and helped her. I picked her up.
Yeah.
Brought it out. Obviously, it's not meant for detailing.
Yeah, it's not your most ideal situation, but that's the goal of this video is to say, and that's what I mean about a perfect employee is, because I had employees that the first sign of trouble, they'd be on the phone with me, Darren, I forgot my vacuum hose. Can't work, got to go home. It's like, dude, like improvise something. Like you're not rolling away from that job until it's done.
Right.
But then I have employees that I never even get the phone call, and a few days later, just like accidentally, they'll tell me, it's like, oh yeah, the other day I forgot my vacuum hose, but what I did, I just asked the maid, she helped me out. It's like, wow, dude, you're like the perfect employee because you don't have to get on the phone. Essentially, it's like this. You have the employees that are looking for every excuse to get out of work.
Yeah.
Even though they're paid to work, as in, okay, you do realize when you're not working, you're not getting paid, right? So if you don't want to get paid, why are you even working?
Yeah.
Why don't you just accept you don't want to get paid?
Right.
So I would, in my head, like my logical head, I'd be like, you would figure out some way to figure it out. Because I had this one employee, and I'm going to call him out by name.
No.
Micah Coyle, which is one of my best, like literally that guy rocked. I mean, he's like a Guyver, which you probably don't know who that is, do you?
I know Guyver.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I grew up with him.
This is back in the 80s. I just dated myself. I'm an old guy. So Guyver, basically, he could save the world, split the atom simultaneously
Swiss Army knife.
With a Swiss Army knife, or even less. He would have like a paper clip, a piece of chewing gum, a wrapper for the chewing gum, and maybe a pencil, and he could like split the atom and simultaneously save the human race.
Yeah,
he was the most creative and resourceful guy you could ever imagine.
But he hated guns.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
See, I actually didn't tune in that much, but I knew enough about him. It's like, okay, this is absurd. So he can bypass and circumvent an entire alarm system in a very sophisticated house with a piece of chewing gum.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Right.
So you became a Guyver in that moment. So you were resourceful.
Yeah.
So Micah Coyle was that same way. Like literally the generator, it would like break. Like maybe the muffler would fall off, or maybe the pull cord would rip apart.
Right.
Well, somehow he would figure it out and he would make it work.
Yeah.
If he had to go 2 doors down and ask the neighbor, hey, do you mind if I run an extension cord from your, he would do it.
Right.
And he wouldn't even call me on the phone. He would just show up at the end of the day. It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, guess what happened? It's like, wow, dude, like, you are awesome.
No.
But then you have employees, it's like, oh, dude, I forgot to fill up my chemicals. Like, I don't have any glass cleaner. It's like, okay, you do realize there's more than one way to clean glass, right? Like, get some stinking water and a clean microfiber cloth and clean that window to satisfaction. I don't care if it takes you longer. Right. You blew it, but I don't want you driving away. So that's what I'm trying to illustrate is that you represent, when you were telling me that story, it's like, okay, you are one of those employees that everyone wants to have, because you're not just going to accept defeat at the first obstacle that you run into. You're like, okay, I got to go to improvisation mode, resourceful mode. I'm presented with a problem. Is there a way I can fix the problem in this moment and get the results that I need?
Yeah.
And that's where I say is, in many ways, detailing is not only the height of awareness, but problem solving. Every day you will be presented with a challenge that will be unpredicted, unwanted in many cases, generally, hence the term challenge. But what are you going to do with that challenge? Are you going to just like lay down and accept defeat? Like, oh, can't do it, got to come back. It's like, what a colossal waste of time.
Right.
You have to drive back and forth, and now you have to come back. Never mind the inconvenience that I promise you, Johnny customer will be like, wow, dude, how unprofessional is that? How do you forget a vacuum hose? Like, are you kidding me? Well, if they knew your world, they would understand. But guess what? Your world's not their world. So, and they don't really want to understand. All they want is a clean car.
Yeah.
They don't really want to be inconvenienced at any level, especially when you get that level of what's the word, affluence.
Yeah.
As in you make a lot of money.
Right.
And you're used to the world suddenly revolving around you and your schedule. Mm-hmm. You do not want to be inconvenienced.
Yeah.
And when you start dealing with those kind of people, you realize, okay, I gotta march to a different drumbeat here,
right.
which is a new reality, which is in many ways welcomed.
Yeah.
But in many ways, it's a new learning curve for you because it's like, oh my gosh, talk about entitlement. Not that this lady's entitled, because she's not. Right. But the point is you don't want to inconvenience the customer and say, hey, you know what, I blew it. Forgot my vacuum hose. Can I come back tomorrow and finish it? Well, her schedule may not permit you to come back tomorrow. And now it's like, well, how about, can I come back the next day? No, busy. When can I come back? It's like, well, honestly, I'm so busy. Probably next week. You're like, okay, well, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Right.
I mean, what do you do with that? You say, you know what? I can't finish the job. I just got to walk away and call it quits, and I can't charge you because I didn't deliver what the expected results were going to be. Yeah. So that's the one point. I could actually deliberate longer on trust and creating trust. Yeah. But we'll save that for another video. Okay. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. So check out both channels. Obviously, you're checking out my channel or you wouldn't be watching it, and you've already found Sean's channel or you wouldn't be watching on his channel. Right. With that said, leave any comments. We want to know if you have dealt with employees. That's my question to you. If you have dealt with employees or you're thinking about hiring your very first employee, some of the fears or concerns that you have moving forward in doing that. So we'll end there. Yep. Sound good? Yep. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the very next video.